pioneering a jumpstart for young children. There, she managed AmeriCorps state and national and AmeriCorps Seniors programs as a federal grantee, launching her former organization's only AmeriCorps Seniors Foster Grandparent program. Atalaya has been a member of several advisory committees, councils, and coalitions, including as a co-founder of Los Angeles Generation to Generation, which focused on engaging older adults to support young children across Los Angeles County. She was also selected as an Encore Public Voices Fellow, using her time to write about the positive impact seniors can have in educational settings. She's earned a master's degree in social work from Virginia Commonwealth University and a bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Virginia. Atalaya, it is our honor to have you as our guest today. We're so glad that you're here. I want to turn it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm really excited to be here with the GetSetup family today. I wanted to start by just sharing a little presentation with you and talking a little bit about volunteerism and some of those dual benefits that that Kevin just mentioned. So let me share my screen. Just give me a moment to make sure this works correctly. Okay. All right. Hopefully you all can see my screen there. See my, okay, great. I see some heads nodding. All right. So as Kevin said, I am the director of AmeriCorps Seniors and was appointed to this position for the Biden-Harris administration. And I'm really honored to have this position. Kevin mentioned that I started my former organization's only foster grandparent program. And that's really how I came to understand and appreciate all that older adults bring to the school setting, to volunteerism. And I also got to see some of those dual benefits. So that's why I really was excited to be invited to come and talk to you today. Prior to coming to the United States federal government, I had the opportunity of overseeing those programs at Jumpstart for Young Children, where we engaged both older adults, adults over 55 years of age, and college students, working with preschoolers to help them get ready for kindergarten. And before that, I worked in the public school system in the state of Virginia, where I also got to support volunteer programs, bringing programs into our school system there, helped to set up a mentoring program, and designed and implemented my school's a school-wide community service program. So I've been able to see those numerous benefits of volunteering, not only for the issue area or the person that is being served, but also for those that are doing that service of all ages. And so this is really important to me. Some of the learning objectives we have today, I hope these are just things that I hope that you walk away from today with. So I want you to know the benefits of volunteerism for you, not just the people you're serving, but for the person that is serving. I want you to know how to get involved in impactful volunteerism in your community. Some tips and strategies on how you might connect in your own community, and then share with you a little bit about AmeriCorps Seniors. If you are living in the United States or the US territories, we have programs in every state. Maybe not every community yet, but every state. So I wanted to give you some information about our programs and show you on our website where you can get connected if that is something that you're interested in. Before we dive into all of that though, I did want to start out by telling you a little bit about AmeriCorps, just in case everyone is not familiar with AmeriCorps. Let's see, change my slide there, yep. The mission of AmeriCorps is to improve lives, strengthen communities, and foster civic engagement through service and volunteering. So you see that on the slide there. But for those that are not familiar with what is AmeriCorps, we are a United States federal agency, and we focus on national service and volunteerism. And we are the only agency in the government that does that work. So we engage in grant making to organizations that are seeking to solve either national or local community problems. And they think that they can do that through engaging people in volunteerism. And sometimes you might hear me call that service, because we call it service within AmeriCorps. And sometimes I toggle back and forth. We support the engagement of Americans of all ages and backgrounds to serve and solve those critical community problems, to expand opportunity for those living in those communities, and to strengthen the communities where they are serving. Our programs and volunteers serve in more than 40,000 locations across the United States and its territories. And we do this in large cities, in small towns, in urban areas, in rural areas, and everywhere in between. Our AmeriCorps, we have 4 programs that are under the AmeriCorps umbrella: AmeriCorps State and National, our VISTA program, and our NCCC program. Those are programs that engage about 70,000 Americans in intensive service. Most of these volunteers serve for an entire year full-time. Their programs primarily recruit those that are 26, 27, 28 years of age and younger, though VISTA and State and National are open to people of all ages. They just tend to be have people in them that are 26, 27, 28 or younger. The volunteers in these programs are called members. So if you hear me say that, they're volunteers, they just are in these 3 programs. And they help students to learn to read, to stay on track in school. They rebuild communities after disasters. They do a variety of things. And because there are mostly younger people in these programs, they also are able to earn a living allowance so that they can serve full-time for a year. And they earn an education award is what we call it, but it's funds for them to use for their own continued education. And they learn a lot of valuable skills to start their careers. And many of the organizations they serve in end up hiring them. I remember when we were at Jumpstart, I hired some of my AmeriCorps members. And then the 4th program is AmeriCorps Seniors. And that's the program that I said I have the pleasure of leading. And our focus is solely focused on engaging adults 55 years of age or older in service. And we are driven to live out that AmeriCorps mission that I shared with you, but do that by bringing older adults your talents, your knowledge, your lived experience to solve these problems. We really believe that there's so much that you all have to give, and we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to do that and to be engaged in whatever way you want to. AmeriCorps Seniors, it is our nation's largest group of older American volunteers, one of the oldest programs in the National Service family, and we have 3 program models that are under the AmeriCorps Seniors umbrella. And I'll tell you a little bit about those as we go throughout our slides here. The AmeriCorps Seniors programs and grantees, so those organizations that we give grants to in the community, engage nearly 200,000 volunteers annually. And they work in sustained service to meet their community's needs. The average years that a volunteer serves is 7. So where some of our other programs, they do a year of service, many of our AmeriCorps Seniors volunteers serve for long periods of time. They get to know the agencies where they serve. They get to know the people that work there, the people that are served there. Some of our volunteers who work in elementary schools get to see children grow up over their time in the school and really bring stability to the organizations and places where they serve. And the average age of our volunteers in AmeriCorps Seniors is 73. We also, I wanted to also share with you some other stats just for you to know about the program. So here you see our annual community impact, and all of this happens through 1,100 community-based grantees. So those people that we give grants to, they're located in local communities. They get to know those local communities, and they get to understand what is needed and how to bring the older adults in those communities to help them meet the needs. So I'll share, like I said, I'll share more with you about the programs in a moment. But before we do that, I do want to talk a little bit about the benefits to the volunteers, to the people who are doing that service. So on this slide, you'll see we did a longitudinal study. So in 2019, AmeriCorps Seniors did a longitudinal study and really looked at what was the impact of volunteerism on our actual volunteers. So serving in the community really helped our volunteers stay mobile and engaged, to think about, so when you think about it, if you're a volunteer working in a preschool, because that's recently where I came from, so it's always front of mind for me, you're getting up and down, you're moving around the classroom and the school, you're getting outside for fresh air. Even if you're helping someone with their taxes virtually, and a lot of our volunteers did that during the COVID-19 pandemic, you're still getting up and moving around to prepare, getting dressed, sitting and standing at your computer, reaching for paperwork and pens, and toggling back and forth through things, moving around. And we saw that that really helped our volunteers to stay healthy in a time when most people and most medical professionals would say that your health would be declining. We saw that 84% of our study participants really reported improved health, or their health remained stable throughout their volunteer period. We also saw that 88% of volunteers decreased their isolation, and 78% said that they felt less depressed. So I think we can all attest to the impacts of isolation and loneliness, having just gone through the pandemic, still kind of in the pandemic. And in my previous organization, early in my time there, I saw that when we had an AmeriCorps Seniors Foster Grandparent program, I saw that volunteers really benefited from the connections that they made. And they told us all the time how great it was to be connected to us, to be connected to the other volunteers who were in the program, and really talked about the purpose and the joy that they found in working with the children in the classroom, and how wonderful it felt when children and teachers and other volunteers were happy to see them on their days at the school, and counting on them to be there. But also how comforting it was that if for some reason they didn't make it to the school that day, they weren't feeling well, that volunteers, my staff, teachers would call and check on them and make sure that they were okay, that they had everything that they needed. So it really helps to reduce feelings of isolation or loneliness if you're volunteering and you feel like you are meeting a need and a purpose in the community, and impacting individuals in positive and supportive ways. So it's not only a benefit for those that you care for, but also a benefit for you. And finding purposeful volunteering is a way that it's more than just something to do with your time. It really provides that dual benefit that you can see through our study. And this just echoes other studies that are out there as well on the health benefits of volunteerism. So the way that we give out grants at AmeriCorps Seniors and the way that our programs are structured is that we have headquarters. So headquarters is in Washington, D.C. We award grants to those local community organizations, sometimes to states that I shared. And then those grantees hire staff to run their programs, to recruit volunteers like yourself and place them in the local community. So an example of that is a grantee that I know about is LA Works. And they are a volunteer organization that recruits volunteers and helps them find opportunities all over Los Angeles County in California to volunteer. So if you don't know anything about Los Angeles County, it is the size of some of our states in the United States. It's about 4,700 square miles, which is about 10,500 kilometers, and has a population of 10 million people. So this is really an example of how we really do We may give a grant to a large organization, but they really make it local. So LA Works knows all about Los Angeles County, what the priorities in the county are, and how they can make a difference. And so they might decide that they want to recruit AmeriCorps Seniors volunteers to support in food banks all over the county, to really help the county make sure that residents are food secure and that there's less hunger in the county. And so what they would do is they would recruit volunteers from their local communities around the county, the cities and local communities in the county. And then they would place those volunteers in food banks to help with food bank distribution, to help with the collection of the food, maybe even to help make sure that if families are coming into the food bank, they are connected to additional resources that might help them with whatever other needs they may have. Volunteers might deliver food to homebound individuals so that they make sure that they have food and are healthy and secure. And you would do that in your local community. So you might be helping the food bank that's just a few miles away from your home, really getting to know the people who are coming in, able to help them get connected. And we know that our older adults in our communities are really trusted individuals. So people feel more comfortable to talk about their needs and other things that they might want to access with them. So it's really a great opportunity for service. So that's an example of how it might work in a community and with an organization that covers a large geographic area. We have smaller organizations that are in smaller towns and locations who do very similar activities of placing volunteers in different places in their community. And you'll hear me talk a little bit about those as we go along. So I did mention that we have 3 programs at AmeriCorps Seniors, and these are the 3. So there's the Foster Grandparent Program and our RSVP program and Senior Companions. So our Foster Grandparent Program and RSVP programs have really focused activities that I'll share with you. And RSVP is a little bit more flexible. But the one thing that is common throughout all of these programs is that we make sure with our grantees that they are really meeting a community need. And so that helps you to know that whatever volunteer service that you're doing, that volunteer service has a purpose and that you'll be engaged in meaningful service in your community and helping your community move forward. So here is the first one that I'll share with you about, our Foster Grandparent Program. So in this program, we are focused on the growth and development of children and youth. And volunteers work with teachers in various settings to identify a place where a child may need additional support, and they focus in that area. So this allows volunteers, along with teachers, to see the child's progress and be able to modify your approach to ensure that children are making the most progress possible and are getting ready for whatever the next grade is that they need to go on to, or getting extra help where they may need extra help. And you see in the photos there, this is a preschool setting at the top, and that volunteer is outside with the child and they're working in the sandbox. And we know that play is really important for young children. They learn a lot of vocabulary through it. They learn social norms and social development through play. So this is an opportunity where they are engaging and really connecting with each other. The photo on the bottom is one of our volunteers tutoring online. And that's what we did a lot of during the pandemic, and probably will continue to do some of that as we move forward. We found out that volunteers could reach children who were further away from them that they may not be able to reach without doing it in a virtual setting. So those are just some examples of how they might work in the Foster Grandparent Program. And I mentioned that they work in many different settings. So some are schools, some are after-school programs, some are preschool settings, Head Start settings. There's also we have a few programs that work with children who are in juvenile correction facilities to help them continue to get schooling and get out and be able to integrate back into their homes and communities. So they're everywhere. The second program is our Senior Companion Program. And this is really a peer-to-peer model. So it's older adults supporting other older adults to remain in their homes, age in place, and live independently. And similar to our foster grandparent program, we do require that grantees and directors help volunteers to really connect with the older adult that they will be assisting and figure out what their needs are. Where do they need help? What are their goals for connecting with others? Or, as you can see in the top photo, getting out and about throughout the day. And so the volunteers really help those other older adults meet their needs and meet their goals. And at the end of each program year, we do collect surveys from those that were served to find out if they felt like it was impactful and it helped them. And overwhelmingly, we see that it was a positive influence in their lives and helped them to live independently longer. And for both the foster grandparent and the Senior Companion Program, we've also did studies on kind of return on investment and got to see that for every dollar invested in the program, we got a $4.50 return on that investment. So we also know that these programs are really helping with the economic impact in communities as well, and helping older adults to stay in their homes. And that's what we want. This to me brings up one way that I would suggest that you might find purposeful volunteering and opportunities in your community. Ask the question, does this volunteer opportunity focus on a community problem, something maybe that you see in your community that you want to try to help out with? And does it have intentional activities that you'll be able to address that problem? And what are the outcomes? Can you see the impact that you're making? Does the organization that you're volunteering with, are they able to talk to you about the results that they are looking to see from the service that you do in the community? Ask those questions when you're thinking about where you want to serve, or you're talking to an organization that has opportunities. And it'll help you to find something that is purposeful, something where you can see the change that you're making, and doing something that you can be really proud of and be able to point back to and say, I helped this person reach whatever goal it is that they are trying to reach. The third program that we have is our RSVP program. And as I mentioned earlier, RSVP is really flexible. These volunteers do a large variety of things. And I'll just share, recently, I joined a grantee call with one of our RSVP programs in New York City. This program typically engages around 800 volunteers a year, and they place them in a variety of settings. So in the city, they have volunteers who are serving in schools and tutoring children, much like foster grandparents. They have those that are visiting older adults in their home and making sure that they are able to live independently, like the Senior Companion Program. But they also have volunteers who were ombudsmen and helped to make sure that older adults who were in institutional care knew their rights and were being well cared for in those settings. They also had volunteers who provided financial coaching. They had volunteers who helped people access benefits and other support programs that they needed. And what stood out to me was just the number of places that volunteers were working in and the amount of talents, skills, and knowledge that was being used to help others in their community. It really lifted up for me how many different ways and how many different opportunities there are out there to volunteer. And that leads me to the second way that I would suggest you find something meaningful and purposeful for yourself, is to think about what it is that you like to do or what it is that you might want to try. Many of our programs and many of the programs in communities, they do have training. They have support to help you to be able to do whatever that volunteer activity is. And this was an example to show me like how many different things this one organization was finding volunteers and helping them to do. And so 2 examples that I'll share from you from the group. One volunteer shared that he was a financial planner prior to his volunteer service. And he got great joy from helping people to make sure that they were ready for retirement and met their retirement goals. He now uses those same skills to help people who are in transitional housing move from that transitional housing and out of homelessness into their first apartments, and have the fiscal skills and financial skills and understanding to make sure that they maintain their new home and that they have these skills to help them throughout the rest of their lives. And he was so overjoyed that he could make a difference like that for a person in their life using skills that he already had and doing something that he had enjoyed doing in his career. Another volunteer, she tutored at an elementary school, actually at the same elementary school that she went to as a child. And she said that she had never been a teacher, but what she was looking for was an opportunity to give back to the community where she grew up, and that she had really fond memories about the teachers and the activities and the things that they did in elementary school. So she asked to be a volunteer in that elementary school where she went. And so that's the other way that you can find purposeful, meaningful opportunities, is to think about just what brings you passion, what gives you joy, what skills do you have that you might want to apply to a volunteer opportunity, and really seek that out. And I would say too that, sometimes there aren't going to be AmeriCorps Seniors programs in your community, like I said before, but there are ways that you can look for what the opportunities are that are in your community. So if there's a particular issue area that you're interested in, look for whatever the city or county agency that is focused on that issue, a nonprofit in your community that's focused on that issue. Give them a call, ask them how you can get involved. They will point you in the right direction to get you involved in the work that they're doing. Everyone is looking for volunteers to help them reach more people. You might look, if you're interested in schools or libraries working with children or adults adult learning. Schools and libraries tend to have their own volunteer programs. So the organization or agency that you want to connect with might have their own program that they can engage you in. And then in some communities, like I mentioned with Los Angeles, they have organizations that really focus on engaging volunteers. And so they might have a whole variety of volunteer opportunities that they can talk with you about and get you plugged into somewhere that you really are interested in trying or something you're interested in doing. The last way that I will tell you how you might find a volunteer opportunity, and one that brings you joy, keeps you healthy, gives you purpose every day, is to ask your friends and family. So in my foster grandparent program back in Los Angeles, each year we would recruit new volunteers. And most of the time, 80% of those new volunteers got referrals from people that were already participating in our program. They were really happy to share the things that they were doing. So I would encourage you to ask friends, family members, people that you're in different settings with, what are they doing? What kind of volunteer opportunities are they engaged in? And sometimes it's a fun way to learn about a volunteer opportunity is to go with a friend or a family member. One of the volunteers from that New York group, he said that when he was about to retire, he just sent a letter to all of the former colleagues he had that had already retired and asked them what they were doing. And that's how he found out about the organization that he volunteers with in New York City. So that might be a way that you look for those opportunities as well. And then here on my last slide are some websites, and hopefully we can put these on the website for you if they're not already there. But these are some websites where you can find out more about AmeriCorps. So the first one is a place on our website that lists by state all of the different programs in the state that are AmeriCorps programs. And once you scroll past some of the VISTA, the state and national, and the NCCC, they have all of the AmeriCorps Seniors programs there. And if you see something that's in your community, you can just call the organization and ask for the AmeriCorps Seniors director, and they will help you get connected. I know our directors are really excited to bring in new volunteers as they are getting back into service. And then the AmeriCorps.gov, that just goes to our AmeriCorps homepage. And from there, you can also find different opportunities. And the AmeriCorps Seniors website there just takes you to where you can learn more about our programs. And from these pages, you can click on a thing that says the right fit for you, and it'll take you to a page that will help you think about which of the AmeriCorps programs is the right fit for you, which of the AmeriCorps Seniors programs is the right fit for you, kind of based on what you want to do. So those are some ways that you might find some of these opportunities in your community. So that was my last slide. So let me stop sharing here, and hopefully you have some questions for me that I can answer.
Atalaya, very good. Thank you so much. Let me ask a couple of questions from a clarification standpoint, just for me. It was a great presentation and very helpful. So from kind of when you laid it out, you had that slide of the different buildings and how this all works, right? So you provide, AmeriCorps provides funding to these grantee organizations, and those are the ones that are more at the local level. And they've had to do something to kind of qualify and meet the requirements for you. And through those organizations, that's where your three different options of the foster parent, grandparent fostering,
foster grandparent, senior companion, and RSVP.
Right. So those grantees those grantees would have those three programs, right? That's what you're saying. The ones that
grantees, grantees in local communities. Sometimes they have all three programs. Sometimes they may only have one or two of the programs. It just depends on what they've identified in their community as the focus for them. And then they will let you know which of the programs they have and get you connected if you're interested.
Do you have any idea how they settled on those kind of three programs? I mean, because there's obviously lots of things you can volunteer for, but what was how did it, the one thing I know, I work a lot with nonprofits, and when you try to get people to donate or give or volunteer, the more specific you are in what you're asking for, the more likely you are going to get them to respond, because you just can't say, hey, can you help me? Because they don't know what that means. So it makes sense that you have three specific things. Can you say any more about why those three things?
So those three things came out of developments in in the U.S. Congress in legislative areas to focus on areas that they felt like were of need for our country. And so foster grandparents is to support the education of our children, to make sure that children that need support can get extra support in their classrooms. They also sometimes will focus on children with exceptional needs to make sure that they can progress in their education. The Senior Companions Program was to focus on supporting our older adults to live healthy, independent lives for as long as they can, making sure that they can stay in their communities, they can age in their home. And those were just things that our country really felt like were of great need. The RSVP program came out of a desire for us to be able to access the knowledge of our older adults for other areas, and to give communities that wanted to also tackle those other areas the opportunity to have a program that was flexible. So RSVP doesn't really have a focus beyond making sure that you are engaging older adults that are over 55 years of age. So that's where that's
the catch-all for everything else, kind of, right, where the specific needs are. And
I see one of our directors is on, and she put a little note in the chat there too, that the programs have been around for a really long time, and they have.
Good. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, because you're right. I mean, I love all three of those make sense. I mean, the foster grandparent ones, if anybody's ever done teaching, especially with elementary school kids, if they don't have parental support it's really hard to help those kids because they need the support, not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom to really thrive. And your program's allowing that to happen if the child especially doesn't have family to support them. So the grandparent fostering can kind of help them in that support. So
Yeah, and with
definitely,
foster grandparents and some of our other tutoring programs, we've also noticed that, sometimes parents are just overwhelmed trying to take care of all the things that they need to take care of. If they are needing to work multiple jobs, they
yeah,
just are overwhelmed with their
right,
work. And
yeah,
so the grandparents really help them in the advice that they give them, also just about caring for their children, in
right,
addition to helping their kids in the classroom. And that's one of the lovely things I think about our programs, is that they're based in the community. And
yeah.
so parents see the grandparents in the community. People see them at the grocery store, and they really help to really connect the community to the schools or the community centers, or to older adults who are living on their own. They really just help make that connection across their community.
So I would guess there'd be probably two obvious questions if we start out specifically with the foster grandparent ones. One is, one would be, I'm not a teacher. I don't know if I'm equipped. Will you train me to do this? I mean, can I just, if I'm willing, can you kind of match me up with something that I'm going to know enough, a little bit more than the student, that I'll be okay?
Yes, so our foster grandparent directors are excellent, and also some of our RSVP directors who have tutoring programs. They are excellent in training their volunteers in what they'll be doing in the classroom. We also partner with teachers, so teachers are always there. They help to identify what it is that the child really needs a little bit of extra help on, and they will help make sure that the volunteers know what to do, how to do it, how to make sure that it is helping children move forward. But we do have really excellent directors who give support, training in whatever program the foster grandparent will be working on with the children.
Okay.
And
So
then
they don't
there's
have to,
some of our programs, they recruit people who may have a background in math so that they
right.
can
Yeah.
help with math or science, or higher level reading and
Right.
writing as well.
But our listeners don't have to feel like they have to have an education degree to do this. They just really have a
No,
willing heart to do it. You can help them get ready for it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In the
The
foster
second,
grandparent program that I had, we had people from all backgrounds. We had nurses, we had people who did more engineering type things, people who had never worked in the classroom and had only dropped their kids off at school, and they
right,
were as effective as
just
our
effective. Right. Yeah.
previous teachers who really helped
Right.
everybody.
The second obvious question I think would be just the concern about health safety and interaction of getting back with people. And, and I think you touched on it, but can you say anything more about the possibility of doing some of this grandparent fostering virtually?
Yeah, so some of our programs during the pandemic really were able to switch to some virtual volunteerism. And so they were able to connect with children who were also at home or even in their schools, to do virtual tutoring, to do virtual kind of reading and getting ready for reading activities online. And I know that some of our programs will continue to offer those types of activities. Some of our RSVP programs also did some of the things like career coaching online. We also had senior companion programs that met with their older adults on their porches, so that they were outside and safe. So I think that some of those same activities will continue and
Right.
be available to our grandparents. And then all of our programs are also thinking about what are the safety precautions that we need to abide by, and provide resources for our volunteers to be able to go back into places, and how are those stations where they're volunteering are preparing to make sure that they are safe as well.
So if somebody's interested in doing this, but they have that hesitation, they should still reach out and say, hey, I want to help, but I really want to be careful about these things. And you think most of those agencies are going to be able to accommodate that?
I think that our directors will have opportunities and options to help them get into service.
Good, good, good. I also, I picked up as you're going through, you were saying, hey, volunteerism is fantastic. Do it. Even if you don't do it with AmeriCorps, do it somewhere because it's going to help you and your health and it's going to help you help other people, right? And you're very pro volunteer, which I think we started off with that message of it really being really valuable. And you gave us lots of data on that. And you think about it, right? As we age and we retire, retiring is not to stop doing everything. That means like the end of us, right? That's the end. You need to still have something, a purpose to do something. And it may not be a career, but if you're doing something that's making a difference in somebody else's life and it helps you in your health, then like volunteering, then you have something to live for and you live longer and you're healthier. So I appreciate you mentioning that just an encouragement to volunteer. And then you give us these great opportunities to do it through AmeriCorps for sure. Bob has a question. He's got his hand up there. We can see what his question is. You guys have questions, you can put them in the notes here and I'll try to get them up on the, share them here. Bob, can you unmute? And there you go. What's your question, Bob?
I've been volunteering with the Red Cross since I retired. My first national deployment was for Katrina, so that was over 15 years ago. And I'm in the Southeast Michigan area. We really depend a lot upon AmeriCorps college graduates, young kids. Natalie is shaking her head. Yes, I don't know. But anyway, in the 25 national deployments that I've been on, hurricanes, forest fires, floods, tornadoes, all kinds, I've never seen an AmeriCorps senior involved. So the question is, does the Red Cross need to come to AmeriCorps Seniors to try to get more seniors involved in, I'll say, national deployments? Or, I mean, I'm on a local disaster action team, so I'm with the Red Cross daily. Or does Red Cross have to come to AmeriCorps, or does AmeriCorps Seniors have to go to the Red Cross as part of the RSVP program to get more seniors involved with the Red Cross? Because we could really use additional help with the hurricane season coming upon us.
Good. Thanks for your question, Bob.
Yeah, Bob, I don't know. That's one, I am still learning how our agencies all connect together. So I would say that if the Red Cross is in need of volunteers, to reach out to the RSVP programs that are in the community there. I do know that some of our RSVP programs actually do disaster relief. And they may be out there and may just not be wearing their RSVP shirts. They may be wearing another shirt or a shirt of another agency. But I know that they do this work and are likely out there with you and might just not be sharing that they're from AmeriCorps Seniors. But yeah, so I would say if your Red Cross agency wants to connect with an RSVP program in the community and see how they can work together. Because I know that we do this work. And thank you for all the many years of service and helping people to come through disasters.
Right. Yeah, I think, and Atalaya, you mentioned they kind of open people's minds to the different things they could do, right? Don't limit themselves to just tutoring kids. There could be lots of things they could do because there's a lot of things you can share with seniors in the companionship program, or there's RSVP, which is really broad. I know one of our GetSetup learners is working on helping provide tiny homes for senior adults in her community, and she's trying to figure that out and some of those things. And she's even thinking about how to kind of coach on minimalism, right? Try to kind of, how do you downsize while you're healthy and you can do that versus being forced to do that as you age and become infirmed. And so even something like that, where she has a passion to do that, and she could go to AmeriCorps and say, hey, I want to help other seniors with this idea, and it'd be a kind of a minimalism coaching type thing. Is that something that's one example, but there's lots of things that people have passions for. And I think you were saying, yeah, bring those in and say, hey, let's say, can I offer this? Is that still how it would work?
Yeah, I would say for that sounds like something that might be of interest to our directors of all of our programs. If she wants to connect with them and share, do a training on this with some of our volunteers. And then if she's looking for an opportunity maybe to have volunteers come and work on some of the tiny homes. We have some of our RSVP volunteers that work with Habitat and other organizations like that. So those are all ways that she might connect with our volunteers in our AmeriCorps Seniors programs.
Yeah, good, good. Well, I hope others are hearing that too, that if they have a specific thing they're kind of passionate about, that maybe they could bring that and offer that. And one of your slides, it mentioned stipends, insurance, training, those kind of things. How does that really play out? I mean, when I think of volunteer, I think it's free. I'm giving my time. I don't get anything back other than the altruistic benefit of helping somebody else. But what really plays into those elements? How does that work?
So our foster grandparent program and our senior companion programs really also focus on engaging older adults who have lower incomes. And so sometimes we forget that there is also a cost associated with volunteerism. So you have to get to wherever you're going to volunteer. You may have to purchase lunch if you're there all day, and those things are extra cost. And so those two programs are really ways that we really want to make sure that volunteering is accessible to all of our older adults. And so we give a small stipend. It's only $3 an hour, so it's not a lot, but that offsets the cost of having to travel, of maybe having to get lunch in order to volunteer. So it's one of those things that, interestingly enough, we don't always think about a cost that is associated. And then sometimes volunteering is a privilege that we have. So we try to make that accessible.
So it's there if they need it. And it's just, you have awareness that for some people, it is a little bit of a bigger burden than others to do that. And so that's there if they need it, right? Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be the motivation to do it, but it's there if they needed it to kind of encourage other people to do it as well. Yeah. Good, good, good. Well, excellent. Well, we're kind of getting to the near end of our time here. I think I've caught up on a lot of the questions that we've gone over here. You've been very helpful in this. And I think those website links that we can get out there to everybody is important so they can kind of go and drill down into their communities and figure out what the needs are in their community. I love how community focused this is. That's so important. And you emphasize that well, because it's like nobody knows your community better than your community. And the people in the community can best meet the needs of the people in that community. And so AmeriCorps is kind of set up that way, I think. And so I think that's really good. So thank you, Atalaya, it's really been great having you here, talking and learning about volunteerism with us. It's really been a privilege for us to listen to you and get this information from you. We'll keep sharing some of these websites.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you to our audience here on the front row and in our live stream communities. If you'd like a recording of this event, please email our support team at help@getsetup.io. If you're new to GetSetup, we hope you've gotten a taste of what we do. We offer over 500 online classes weekly, all designed for older adults, taught by older adults. The classes are free, and we work with local governments and community and Medicare organizations who support their members with free classes. I want to draw attention to relevant classes on GetSetup. If you like this event, one of our other classes might be for you too. So look for the link to sign up in the chat here on Zoom or on our live streams at getsetup.org. And remember, anyone who registered today will get an email with the event follow-up links and notes, including links to some of the relevant classes and other exciting upcoming guest speakers that we have. So we look forward to having all of you in future classes. Tell your friends, family about GetSetup. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.